Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Ron. We're veteran game designers who worked on the Dungeon Crawler Carl RPG.
We named this podcast after the Dungeon Anarchist cookbook because we tell you how the game works and how to make the game work for you.
And now, on to the episode.
All right, we are back for our Gen Con, post-Gen Con recap episode of Dungeon Anarchist. Ron.
Yes, I, Ron, remain, as I have been, an employee of Wizards of the Coast, and the opinions I express here are mine and not theirs. But I did want to say that I attended Gen Con on my own recognizance. I was still an employee of Wizards of the Coast all the way through, but I wasn't going on behalf of Wizards of the Coast. So I thought it was a fantastic convention. I didn't see much of the stuff that Wizards of the Coast had announced or done. I spent a lot of my time doing Dungeon Crawler Carl things.
Of course, because it was all over the place.
It was. From the cosplay, people dressed up as the different characters, to the announcements in the exhibit hall, to the different events, from the actual playing the game, to the special interactive that you talked about writing, to the actual play, it was just so much Dungeon Crawler Carl all the time at this Gen Con. I loved it.
Yeah, Scott Gata had posted on his sent out on Facebook. So there was a reviewer of kind of a Gen Con who talked about the top things there that he saw, the top trending things. And number one was Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yeah.
But what did you do at Gen Con? In particular, I have a lot of stuff I'm going to talk about. So I want to give you a chance to talk about some of your stuff, especially if it's non-Carl stuff, which I know you did some non-Carl stuff.
Well, I will. I did quite a lot of non-Carl stuff, and I know that people are listening for the Carl stuff, so I will make this quick. But my own personal Gen Con, when I go on my own, is all about playing the types of games and experiences that I can't get with my groups at home. So a lot of role-playing games that are maybe experimental that I want to be able to take back to them, but couldn't start with them. I played a couple of Monty Cook games that were a ton of fun. There's a lengthy board game that I particularly like called Eldritch Horror. I got a chance to play with new people and have a good time. That's a cooperative game, and we all lost barely, but we all lost barely together, and that was a lot of fun. I got to play a PvP Dark Sun Arena tournament, which was fantastic. I got to second place in that, but the biggest sort of surprise there is Timothy Brown, who has written some of the Dark Sun stuff from the 90s, happened to be there, and I got to meet and talk with him, and that was great. Just a great guy all around, in addition to the folks that run that tournament. And got to play a little bit of games with friends that I hadn't seen in a while. Got to hang out for lots of, lunches, dinners, sort of after parties thing with friends that I hadn't seen in a while. And a lot of new friends that I'd made at a ton of different gaming companies. It was a lot of fun networking. Spent the whole thing, as you saw, John, with my good friend Mike, who I've known since high school. We went to Gen Con together in late high school and all the way through college, and we've been back to attending Gen Con together again. So seeing a lot of new friends with one of my very oldest friends was just a real delight all the way through. I had a great time. I think it was one of my best Gen Cons in many, many years.
Yeah, I have not gone to as many Gen Cons as you. This is, I think, my third or fourth time, and I still thought this was a really, really great Gen Con. And I'll talk about Gen Con proper, but for me, I had a bunch of pre-Gen Con stuff, some of it which included you. So I was given the opportunity to go to Gen Con on the tab of Renegade, but I had to work for them to do that. And to do so, I arrived in Indianapolis at 6 a.m. on Monday morning. I was able to check into my hotel early, take a nap, and then started working.
For the viewers, Gen Con starts on Thursday.
Yes.
So showing up at 6 a.m. Monday morning is very early.
Yeah, well, I took a red eye to get there, and then starting at noon, we started putting together the booth and displays, and I've learned so much about how to put together things for in the vendor hall and the various places. I have some photos of part of the crew, but there's like I think 16 of us that were there. And at the time, this is first of all, I'm going to say there's going to be a lot of stories about Gen Con. That's what this recap is going to be about. So at the time, I had offered, because I wrote the special. Oh, I really wanted to be there. If you can get me a downtown hotel and exhibitor badge, I'll go. And so they got that for me, and I went there. I was happy. Then I come to find out everybody else has paid $1,000 in addition to that. And so,
oh boy,
yeah. So, I was kind of joking around to people. Yeah, I'm doing this for free, all this work for free, because I really want to be here. And people thought, Jordan, Gata, and Kevin, producer, thought I was joking. I said, no, I'm serious. Everybody else is getting paid. And eventually Jordan said, oh, that's an oversight. I'll get you paid. And sure enough, after Gen Con, he sent me a contract and he's going to send me.
Oh, great. Okay.
So I was like, what? I didn't even ask for that. I didn't even expect it going along. So I got paid to go there early, and there were long days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday was basically noon till like 7 or 8. Tuesday and Wednesday were kind of all day things, setting up and getting things ready. And then Wednesday night, they had a all Renegade kind of staff dinner at there's a minor league baseball stadium, Victory Field, right next to the convention center. And so they had us there, and I was able to get Ron and Mike in there.
Yep.
And so a chance to catch up. And near the end of it, Matt Dinneman and Jeff Hayes had flown in. And so they were there as well, and got to meet and chat with them. And they gave out some goodie bags. So that was kind of my pre-Gen Con stuff. And Ron was like, kept giving me updates because they were like delayed getting in.
That's right. We had a delay with our connecting flight, but we made it in. It was great. It was really fun to meet so many people with Renegade, and it was a little eerie to be enjoying a great buffet in a baseball stadium with big windows that overlook the field in which nobody was playing, because it was not a game. It was the venue, but it was great. We got to meet and chat with a lot of wonderful Renegade people.
So that was kind of my pre Gen Con schedule. And now I'll show you what my Gen Con schedule was. So I had mentioned online all the stuff going on with Matt and Jeff and all the Dungeon Crawler Carl stuff. And it's because I have this spreadsheet which lists all the stuff Thursday through Sunday. And these are all things, even if I'm not specifically listed as a guest, these are things I had to go and attend to starting Thursday morning. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday mornings, Matt and Jeff were playing in ICC 139, which was where CrawlCon was, a fan game, right? So that was kind of kicking off the day. And then there were signings and there were panels. And one of the things I had to do was crowd control. And Gen Con's already pretty crazy. There's 74,000 people there. As soon as we open the doors to 139, a mass of people are coming in. And so we have to manage the line going through. And wow. Matt and Jeff they're playing from 9 to 11. We open the doors at 10. So I pretty much stationed myself kind of with my back to the table there, partially to block where they're sitting so people don't reach over and say hi and interrupt them and stuff, and to keep traffic flowing. So that's like the start of my day, And then when they had different signing events and stuff, we would have these massive lines of not just people lined up to sign, but people that were hoping to be on standby. And this was in the, most of them were in the exhibit hall in the far back, and where there's tons of people going by. So I'm having to manage the lines for all that as well. The people who want to be in the line versus the people who just want to get by to go to their other stuff at Gen Con. And yeah. So, so that was kind of, became my job, and I became very proficient at it, apparently, because they kept having me do that. And then when we went down for the big photo shoot at Victory Field with like some 2,000 people, of course, I was managing getting everybody through there, encouraging people, getting them to go. And then they're all in the field, and I'll show a picture of this. I had to get them all to squish in. of course, they don't want to listen to me, and I'm hollering and doing stuff. And finally, I got the mic to Jeff. I said, Jeff, can you tell these people to shush in? And so then they started listening, and I could get them to do
Oh,
that.
they'll listen to him. All right, a
Yes.
recognizable voice.
Yes. Well, I mean, because I wasn't on the PA system, and I'm in my cosplay, and I got this. We had these big line starts, line end flags, and I had this big line end flag is red, so I was using it to direct traffic on everything. And
like you were landing an airplane.
That's kind of what it was like. So there was a lot of things in there, and one of the things that I wasn't able to experience directly, and you can see on here, if you can see this schedule, hopefully you all can read it. Like on Thursday, Jeff read the hall closing announcement. He also did that on, I think he did on Friday. No, he didn't do it on Friday, but he did, I think, on Saturday as well. Yeah, he did on Saturday as well. And apparently it was pretty cool. I've kind of heard bits and pieces of other things that people posted, but because I was in rooms doing stuff, I didn't actually hear the announcements. Did you hear any of the announcements?
I did. On Thursday, I was in the exhibit hall when it was closing, so I got to hear the announcements. Now, I do have to admit, I didn't recognize the voices because I haven't listened to the audiobooks. All my Carl experience has been reading the books aloud. Right. But to hear it as different than the normal announcement, I guessed immediately who it was and the content of it. So that I thought that was fun to hear. But I could see people who had no connection with the books go, what? So a little bit of funny advertising of the like.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, so here's just kind of the schedule, and you can kind of see a lot of things that went on. Right now, we're making plans for PAX Unplugged. Are you going to go to PAX Unplugged?
I am not. No, I don't have plans to go to that one. That's that's on the other side of the country from me, and not a con I've actually been to. I've heard good things about it, but I haven't been.
So the Dungeon Crawler Carl RPG retail release is November 23rd. For those who didn't back it, that's when it's coming out. This con starts December 4th and runs through the 6th. So it's like right afterwards. So it sounds like that Renegade's going to have a pretty good presence, because I know at least the Carl statue, which I'll show later, is going there next.
Okay.
So I imagine. Anyway, I've already volunteered, and they said they'll pay me to go there too. So it's like,
oh, nice.
Yeah, hotel, badge, and pay to go. So it's like, which covers my airfare and food. I mean, so, and I still got to work for them, but not as I don't have to get there as early. So, all right. So, just kind of continuing on. That's kind of the overall schedule. Just to show you some images from what we had there, all across the exhibit hall floor. They had these CrawlCon room 139 pictures on the floor, and so a lot of companies do this. And so there was, like, I think from the main entrance over, on the side of the Omni coming all the way in, I think they had several of these. So this is just the first one I saw. So I thought I'd take a picture of that one as well. Here's the entrance for CrawlCon. Again, on this whole wall, there are several other companies that do this, and they all have these sorts of banners in the entryway. This one, of course, was Dungeon Crawler Carl themed. And then inside, on all the walls, they had these very large, probably about 12 foot by 12 foot banners. And I posted these online on the Discord earlier, but for those of you that aren't on the Discord, I posted lots of stuff during the con on the Discord, but I'm kind of showing some of these things here. So here's like a leaderboard from probably the 4th or 5th floor. If you look at Carl's level 54, so he's kind of been up there.
Whenever he was that in the book, yeah.
Yeah, and Miriam Dawn is a vampire at this stage, which I don't think happens until the 5th or 6th floor.
6th book, yeah.
Maybe so. Anyway, so it's kind of interesting to see the stats and stuff. And I didn't have anything to do with these, but I would feel pretty confident that whoever did this kind of took it from a canon leaderboard in the books. Also, they had these advertisements on some of these ones. Now, this one, it says on the top, CrawlCon is brought to you by, and this is Alpha Hair Gel. And of course, this is supposed to be a picture of Alpha Carl with the big hair. Here's one for the Desperado Club. And the interesting thing, so on these pictures, these banners do have power and they're backlit, so they light up.
Right.
They're not lit up right now. These are the non-lit up versions. So this is just the native coloring still makes it look like it's glowing, which I thought was kind of cool.
And they're flat. They're not completely flat, but they're mostly flat up against the walls. So this added a lot to the room without taking up a whole ton of space. As you can see with the little white feet at the bottom, they're standing.
Right.
But then being backlit, they didn't take up too much of the room, but added a real fun bit of flair to all the walls in the CrawlCon room 139.
Yeah. So these pictures were all taken before we opened up. So after we had put these together, and it took like 3 of us would put one of these together in. When we first did it, it would take like a half hour. Then we got it down to like 10 minutes. You know, we once you figure it out. The hardest part, the image itself is a big stretchy fabric, and it's really easy to get the cross corners and then to get a third corner. But that last corner, you really got to work it down, and
like putting on a fitted sheet. That's
well, yeah, a fitted sheet that is like trying to put a
12 feet square.
A twin size sheet on a queen is kind of what it was like. You know, you really stretch it. But that makes it nice and taut and makes it pretty cool. And then here's donut drinking at Dirty Shirley out of a bowl. And this one ended up sideways for some reason. They weren't before. I apologize. This is him fighting the juicer. Here's one of girl power. So Katya, Imani, and Ellie. And this is Odette. And Ron made a comment how the artist very strategically covered certain sections of this.
Every time Odette shows up, the artist has strategically covered part of Odette.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And then, of course, kind of reference to the Snick with the Maestro and Carl here.
And Carl.
And there was one more large double-sized one that's on the back. I didn't get a very good image of that because I couldn't capture it very well because there's tables and stuff from the way I want to get it from the side, and I don't know. It didn't look very good. Oh, Quasar, the lawyer.
That's right.
Got about Quasar as well. Okay. And also in there, and some of you may have seen, this is what I was alluding to about an announcement. They had told us when we were doing our thing last week or prior to Gen Con, they told us the pinball machine would be there, but it wouldn't be announced until Monday. But then it got announced at San Diego Comic-Con that they were making it. And then these two gentlemen, the two designers, the fellow on the right is also like a former professional pinball player. So they have this machine. It's multimorphic. It's a multimorphic machine. Basically, it can turn into other machines, and all the graphics are magnetic to come off everywhere in the whole playing field. And it's like a really cool standard machine that you can turn into other things. I asked him, I said, hey, so if I buy this one here, can I get a discount, like a show discount, because it's used, right? He said, oh, man, as soon as they have like 300 orders already. So there's a lot of collectors and stuff.
So you couldn't get the display model.
No,
they weren't selling
They're
it.
all way backed up. You know, it's like, he told me with shipping, it's around 12,500, something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Which is pretty pricey. I think I had because I told my wife, I'll get this and I'll put this in my background and I'll get a business write-off to buy one. And she's hemming and hawing about it. But I quit playing I used to play pinball a lot when I was a kid.
Oh, really? I never knew you as a pinball person.
I was very good at it. A lot of people play video games, in arcades and stuff. I played pinball, and I I'd play hours on $1 worth, right? I could just,
Wow.
but I've got really severe carpal tunnel like symptoms from playing pinball. And I actually, after Gen Con, I went to visit my friend Dan from high school in Ohio, and I hit an arcade while I was on the way down there because I got there a little early, and I played pinball like for an hour, and sure enough, it all kind of came back. So it's like it'd be a very expensive background prop if I got it, which they said a lot of collectors just get them and they just sit there. So like, I know, but I'm not.
I mean, I'm not trying to justify an expense like that, but with your Mando costume and all of those books on the shelf that you have as your background anyway, how much would all of that be all together? Maybe closing in on that amount with all those gaming books.
I don't think it'd be that much. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm hoping. Well, he said he would. So the fellow on the left, I put on my business card somewhere else. I connected with him. He'd love to be on our show. Talk about the machine.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So I connected with like 4 or 5 different vendors for some of the different things I'll show you. And they're all happy, of course, to talk up their product and get people to buy it.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of which, these products were out there by, I think it was a company called Play something. Again, you might be able to read it on there. Can't tell. So they had a bunch of these. Here, they actually showcased them at San Diego Comic-Con as well. These are action figures for Dungeon Crawler Carl. A couple of these are like the Donut Tiara one that's a plushie in there, and these look pretty cool. So here's some kind of close-ups. You can see that there's some interchangeable parts, so you can have different facial features and different things they're holding and stuff like that as well. Here's Prepotente. So you can get him making his loud noise or not. And some different soda bottles in there as well. Here's Mordecai. Now, one of the things, I don't know anything about these collectibles, but Nick, who's their e-commerce guy at Renegade, is apparently a big collectibles guy. And he was talking to the rep here. Apparently they're going to come out like they're going to have a Mordecai that has a red vest instead. They're going to have a Carl that has different colored toe rings, like a gold instead of a silver. And apparently some of these are limited quantities. They're going to have all these variants that experts will
variant collectibles.
Right. They'll figure out the codes and get all this kind of stuff. These are going to be available at specialty stores end of September. And then probably more widespread after that. I've seen some people have them for sale, and I don't know where they got those from. This is just what the information he told me. So here's a close up of Mongo and Donut, and it looks pretty good paint. It's not like I have a son-in-law who is a professional mini painter who does all kinds of shading and things like that. It's not that quality. It seems just more like action figure quality. But it's not, I can't tell if it's molded in the color or if it's painted in the color, but it seems pretty good from my untrained eye. Did you have a chance to look at these at all?
I did not. I only saw them from a distance at the table, so I didn't look at them up close like this.
Yeah, there's always, we just had this one display table next to the pinball machine, and there's always a mob of people, looking at
them.
So
yep.
I did it in the morning, but before anybody got there and things like that. They also had, so this is the Goblin Dozer that comes in early on, and then I think this is a shambling berserker that's chasing just from all the body parts and things.
Okay.
I didn't, I guess I could have looked at the box, but it's kind of, but they have a couple of these, they're called chases or something, I guess. So this isn't the only one, apparently. Apparently there's others as well. There's Carl and Donut and then something else. So anyway, so they had some of these here that they showcased. Now, this is another action figure, but this is a full-size one. And so this is in the exhibit hall when they first brought in the big Carl statue and they were opening it up. And it's on like this base that looks like a little mini, but it's like massive. You know, this base here is like about 6 feet across, you know, and he was packed with all kinds of foam all over the place. And it took about 6 of us. I was supervising. I was just watching, taking pictures. 6 people to very carefully get him in, out of it, and later on bring him in. But pretty cool. These are, again, pictures. These pictures here are after we kind of broke down because there's less stuff in the background now. And pretty cool detail. So here's kind of up close. You can see lots of tattoos. One of the things I noticed, he didn't have a bunch of patches on the vest. So,
by the time he gets a tattoo, his jacket has lots of patches.
Yeah,
so.
and same with when he has the
Zestera with the Samantha head in it.
So
that reminds me, there were a lot of people, when I talk about the cosplay, there were a lot of people dressed up as Carl, but I also saw a number of people who were in cat costumes dressed up as Princess Donut, or had blonde hair and long pigtails and overly done makeup as Samantha. So
yes. And there's we had a couple of people that had that Kisera as well. I saw they had a 3D printed one.
Yep.
I thought that was kind of neat. And here's kind of a close-up of Samantha. And this Samantha is life-size. So when you're looking at it. All right. So also, one of the things I was doing, I had to set up the display cases. And so I put together all the cases themselves. And then I got to put together the Carl display case, which was kind of cool, I guess, to do that. So here's kind of an image of the Royal Court minis here. I took a couple of pictures and I decided the lighting was kind of tough. You can see the overhead lights and things. This is allies and enemies. But I decided just to go ahead and shoot a video where you can kind of see what things are. There's multiple versions of Carl and Donut, kind of from different stages, plus Katya's in there. There's a bunch of Mordecai types. Here's a mock-up of the core rulebook. It's thinner than the others. They had the starter kit with I took it all apart and had all the pieces that were in it, which are a lot of tokens and things. There's these loot boxes, which have random dice. There's like 29 sets of different dice. Then you could buy smush dice, the large Samantha die, and they had a couple other die. And then I took out a Samantha die to get a sense for what it exactly was like, because I had to put it in the display case anyway. So I figured I'll shoot a video, and I posted this on our Discord before. It's 55 millimeters, which is, smaller than a baseball. It's like a little crossball size. And I think one of the issues with that is that it's a little unbalanced because of the stuff inside. I didn't roll it because it was brand new die. I didn't want to roll it on stuff. But I'm curious to see if it's weighted more towards any particular number because of that. I think it probably is. But
then more of a display item than an actual usable die in the role-playing game.
Right. All right. One of the panels I was on was a character creation panel, and that's Rena, who's Zev, Aeneas, Matt, Jeff, me, and then Matt Hyra at the end. And one of the things that's funny is we're all smiling, and then Matt, I think, was caught surprised because somebody, Matt Hyra down the end, kind of said, "Who's that guy down there frowning?" They're taking
Oh,
but if you know Matt Hyra, that might be in his normal state. I don't know. But this was a lot of fun to be on. Hearing what people were actually doing Q&As. They kind of walked through similar to what we did with our character creation video, but a lot abbreviated and some different graphics. But they did record this, I think. So hopefully that'll end up somewhere else later on. So I think it was the same company that made the Samantha head. They were doing they had like this laser etching thing. And so they were making a wood carving of Samantha and also one of Prepotente. And they gave this to Scott. And so if you wanted it's kind of cool. It's a big, big heavy wooden thing. He explained the process for how the laser did it, made several passes. I thought that was kind of interesting. This is something that you got to go to, the actual play with Xander as the
I did. Of all the things that there are a ton of Dungeon Crawler Carl stuff that I got. I got, the comic book. There were a ton of the things that add onto the bottoms of badges, the different
ribbons,
new achievements of various type. But I also kept, and this is going to seem a little bit silly, like when you got me into this, it was in the special guest seating section. I kept just the piece of paper that was on the seat that I got.
Oh, that's cool.
So I have been in as a special guest to this very actual play.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Again, I was managing the VIP line for getting people in. And of course, Ron and his friend Mike were very important, and they showed up late. So I had to
scramble, but we got in there. The people around us were great. It was fun to chat with folks ahead of time a little bit. It was great.
And you had some of the best seats in the house. You were in the center, I think, 4th row. So
yeah, near the center of 4th row, and it was. I felt like a VIP. So thank you. That was thank you to you and to Renegade for permitting us to come in and enjoy this. The story of the actual play itself, I thought, was really good. Is this going to be posted anywhere?
I saw several people recording, so it was being recorded. So I think it will be. Okay. So they're all professionals up there, and Jeff is up there on the left, but he must be behind one of the other players. So apparently they had one rehearsal for an hour. Xander wrote this whole story, and they had a rehearsal. So what was up there, they kind of knew what was coming. I hope it's posted because Jeff did such an awesome job with his character and the voices he did for it, which I won't spoil for anybody at this point. But it was a lot of fun. Now, I have to say that they played very fast and very loose with the rules. Take none of what they said.
I acknowledge that as well. Yes. I understood it. What it was for was the entertainment, not the rules accuracy.
Yes.
So if you watch this, you will see a general sense of how the game flows, but not a strictly correct way of how the game flows.
Yes. As I was talking to Kevin, our producer, who was with me there, it's like, yes, the comedians pretty much do things to make it a show, not so much to follow the rules. So be aware of that. Don't be calling up us and asking how come you can't do these things in the game like Xander was having them do. Okay. No, it's
right.
You talk to Xander about that. If you get Xander to approve it, I'll let you do it on the table. That's okay.
That's right. Except that Matt corrected Xander on one of the rules at one point, which I thought was hilarious. So
yeah,
it is nice to know that Matt, at least of all the comedians that are up there, knows the rules of the game.
Yeah, Matt and Jeff had been playing it all week. So, and Matt, of course, has been vetting stuff. So that was kind of fun. There's 1,000 people in there filling the place. There's a big line for that. All right, going on. Oh, I'm pushing the wrong button. Okay. So we had this really big photo shoot for fans and cosplayers. And it
looks like somebody worked really hard to try to get everybody in and squished together for this picture, John.
Well, and the thing is, I worked really hard on this left side, trying to tell people, go towards the back. It's a zone shot from above. right? People were stringing out. And I tried to get the right to move in a little bit more. Now, the interesting thing is, because I was doing all this, when I was done, I got to go right to the front for my picture. So can you find, this is Where's Waldo? Where's John? Where's John in this photo?
It would help us if we had pictures of you in your cosplay costume, John.
Oh, wait,
maybe you have some of those to show us.
Well, I will say there's this banner on the left here that says Viva la Revolution, Carl. That's what the banner says. There's a person in blue. That's Andy, who's my sound guy at the multi-table special. And right next to him is a Carl kneeling down. You can see the heart shorts and stuff. And you'll notice he has very, very white hair. That's me. So I am easy enough to identify. And then there's a whole bunch of renegade people in front of me. And then, of course, Reno or Zev sitting in the center. But this was kind of a fun thing. And it wasn't this part necessarily wasn't a lot of fun, but everybody lined up kind of early. So I was out there managing the line in my full Carl cosplay. And I was using my best Carl voice to holler at people and donuts and prepotentes and telling them to get in line. And then when we got the line moving, I was saying, all right, crawlers, get down the stairs. Hurry up, help your fellow crawlers. 4 claps is coming. And I'm yelling all this stuff. And people are across the street. I'm trying to get them over and I'm yelling this stuff. And so it was just a lot of fun kind of interacting and getting people kind of in the moment going. So it was fun.
That's great.
So anyway, so that was going on. And then afterwards, after everybody had cleared the field, it was Matt, Jeff, Rena, myself, Matt's assistant, and Jeff's fiance, who was there quite a bit, all leaving. And there was one person on a kind of mobility scooter who was leaving in front of us. They had walked down to the stairs, down to the field, had a hard time coming back up, was getting on their scooter to leave. So I went to check on them to see how they're doing. This is Tara here. And she was nice enough to take a selfie. And the reason why she did this is she was on her scooter, looking on her phone, fooling around with stuff. And Matt and his party, we were going to walk by her. And so I raced up ahead to check to make sure she was okay. And one of the things I said to her is, I said, you need to look up now. Because one of the things that Matt's, and I've walked around with Matt quite a bit here, he likes to do is to surprise people who are wearing Dungeon Crawler Carl stuff that might not expect him being there. The thing is, if you don't notice him, he might just keep going by. So like he did that to me at NorwestCon, where he called me out and I turned around, oh, it's Matt. So I was afraid that she might miss him. And so I said, you need to look up right now. She said, what? You need to look up right now. And as soon as she looked up, Matt went by and said hi to her, and they took pictures with her and signed stuff. And so afterwards she said, oh, that was so great. Let me take a picture with you. I said, okay, that's fine. So this is the picture she took with me. So,
oh, what a great story.
Yeah. So I thought, well, that's kind of a fun story. But Matt is just so cool with that. Like we were walking, after between events, we were hanging out at the Omni, went to an event, we were walking back, and there was a guy wearing a kind of a Dungeon Crawler Carl shirt with a bunch of other people, and we're walking right up behind him. And Matt's getting all set to do this thing, right, to say hi to him. And as soon as we get up next to him, the guy turns around to look at our friend, the opposite side, and then we keep walking, and we just keep going. And I said to Matt, he didn't even notice. He says, yeah.
I just missed it.
Yeah. And it's like, there's so many people that get stopped, and you see stuff on photos on Facebook with Matt. That's just Matt showing up and doing pictures with him. He was very, very kind of generous with his time, even though he's booked solid and working long days. He just enjoyed interacting with the fans.
Oh, how nice.
All right. So anyway, so there's that story. And then you asked for, this is a better picture of me. I'm in front of the really big mural in the back of the room I was talking about. I also have the spiked knee pads, which I was a little concerned about because they were very spiky, but they were plastic. And I had those Vibram toe shoes. You weren't allowed to walk on the field barefoot, and I didn't, at this stage, you're not wearing the pink Croc, so I wanted to wear kind of shoe things. But this was my costume. That my wife was generous enough the night before I left to sew all my patches on because I had left that to the last minute. All right. So at Gen Con, I did not buy many things, but I bought 2 things. I bought Rickshaw Riot because one of the authors is Ben Wolf, who also was one of the main writers for the Dungeon Crawler Car RPG. He's the person that kind of went through the whole thing to make sure that the theme of the writing in the core rulebook, kind of the vibe, matched what Matt Dinneman would like to have it. So it's not written like your standard core rulebook all the way through. And so Ben was the person to do that. So I had Ben and Luke sign it. And then for the character creation panel, I had to buy dice because we had to roll up some things. And so I went to a friend who was working at Cheswick's booth, and I bought the fluorescent dice on the left. Those only neon dice, they actually glow in the dark too. So
fun.
Only dice I bought, but other people were gifting me things. So like, for example, I got this green and this purple donut that people had made 3D printed. They gave them to me.
Awesome.
And then there's this weird bird. I don't know what it is. They didn't know what it was either. I don't know why they gave it to me. And then at the end of the con, after we break down all the booths and everything, any display stuff, they put in a big pile. Then all the staff that came and helped out get to rotate through and choose things. And there was nothing there I really wanted because all the Carl stuff had to be boxed up for the next show that was in the display case. But Sophia, who was in charge of the booth, did find one of the random loot boxes, which had a set of dice in it. And there were these Carl dice here. These are flesh-colored dice with, for the natural 20 and the 6, have Carl's foot on it. So that was, I now have those dice that was gifted to me by her. Ben Heisler, who's one of the producers that helped work on Carl, but primarily works on the conversion to 5e products now, gave all of us one of these Maeve chocolate bars, which it's funny, I had to go all the way to Indianapolis to get a chocolate bar that's made in Seattle. But this saved me because I always try to get a gift for my wife, and usually I get her chocolate when I'm there. And so I actually forgot. So she got this gift.
Saved
yes.
by the generosity of somebody else. Great.
So that was nice. And then here's my badge, but one of our listeners, and I have to apologize, I had so many people come to me. I don't remember his name. I usually don't put many of these ribbons on my badge, but he gave me the Princess Posse, Growler Gary's Helping Hands, and my favorite, Dungeon Champion World Earth Champion, Dungeon Crawler World Earth Champion ribbons for my badge. And that's the one I like the most, but everybody was asking me where I got the Princess Posse one. So he also he makes these level badges. So for each level, he makes a specific patch that he sells sets of. He offered me a set, and I'm not a big patch person, so I just asked him to give them to other people that would appreciate it more. But I just wanted to thank him for his offers on that as well. So those other things I got. And then Ron mentioned this at the get-together. They gave us these little goodie bags, which had one copy of all 11 ribbons in it that we gave out at Gen Con. So if you went to all our different activities, you got these. And also gave out a comic book. And at the end of the con, again, they had this pile of stuff. None of it I was interested in. They also had a bunch of goodie bags. So I grabbed several goodie. I grabbed 9 of them. So I actually have 9 sets of ribbons and 9 comic books, which I went later and got bags and boards to put them in for transport. And one of the things I thought I would do with our listeners is I would like to run some contests. And I thought as prizes, I could give out a set of ribbons and or a comic book. So I'm kind of curious to see what people think about that, what type of contests we should run. But I have some things. These are a collectible. I was looking on the Renegade site because they kind of announced these things. It's a surprise Dungeon Crawler Carl free comic book day variant cover. So this comic book was given away at Free Comic Book Day, but this was a special variant cover for Renegade to give away at Gen Con and maybe other cons as well. So, but it's not available for sale. So it's
Great.
kind of a special thing that I got there. All right.
That's neat.
Other things. So I got 3 new achievements from people. Again, people coming up to me. The first one, you may have saw this person. There was somebody dressed up as a trophy, and they were handing out this top new achievement one where you encountered a walking trophy. So they gave me that. And then the smaller one that says new achievement, I found a crawler at Gen Con, and it has their image on the back of that. And then the last one, this is a pin, one of the things that Foam Brain makes. And it says, this is your cosplay. I did a cosplay, so somebody gave me one of these. And Foam Brain's another company that we're hoping to have. Well, they said they'd be on our podcast to talk about some of the products that they're selling as well. So Pinball, the action figures, and Foam Brain are 3 of the folks so far. Other things I got, and this top patch, there's a person who works with the sheriff's department in Missoula County, says he listens to our podcast while he's at work, and it really helps him get through. And so he gave me this patch, and it's like, I might have to make an exception of I don't do patches, and actually put this on my battle rattle.
For this patch.
I think I'm going to put this on somewhere up high on my battle rattle. And then I got a couple keychains, so 3 of these keychains from people. And then this bottom one, the Dungeon Crawler Carl, that's a magnet that sticks onto something. So I got to figure out and again, these are just people. Some of them gave it to me while I was in my cosplay. Some people while I was working. Most of them were listeners of ours that recognized me. I don't know how. Must be the hair. Well, I told them
our faces are on every podcast we do.
Yeah, and I said where I would be. So I guess that put tuned. I met about 20 people who said they listened to our podcast. So I thought that was kind of neat.
That's awesome. I only met a couple, but it was great.
Then I met this fella, and so.
Hey, that's Jeff Hayes.
One of the things they told us at the very beginning for all of us contractors was, Jeff Hayes and Matt, they're working, you're working. Don't ask them for autographs. Don't do anything. But at the end, there was a group of us, 3 of us, that had been working with them the whole time to get them around, do security. And so they wanted to do something for us. And so I didn't expect anything. So I didn't bring anything to sign. So I had my water bottle, which I've been carrying the whole time, which has my boxer shorts on it. And of course, a sticker I got from one of our fans that said donut holes on it. So Jeff was gracious enough to sign that for me. And then I had this shirt I was going to put on. This is the last day we were going to do teardown. After I was done, when I was all sweaty, I was going to put on this new shirt. And I had it in my bag. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this to Matt and have him take a picture of me with it. So
that's awesome.
So he signed my water bottle, and people were giving stuff to Matt all the time. And so I figured I'll give it to him. I don't know what he does with them, but at least I got a picture of him holding our shirt.
Our Dungeon Anarchist shirt. Excellent.
Yeah, and he appreciated the logo on the back. He kind of looked at that and saw what it was. So, and then of course I got a picture with the both of them as well. Again, very gracious. I spent a lot of time with Jeff, not as much talking with Matt. Both super, super nice guys. And the one thing I did decide I was going to do after it was all said and done, I wasn't necessarily going to ask for signatures. I was going to ask for a favor. And so I asked Matt if it would be possible to get him on our podcast. And he said, well, that's not up to me, but that's up to her over there. His assistant, who I happen to kind of get to know pretty well because I was working with her a lot on things. So towards the end of this year, it looks like we should be able to get Matt on. I think around the time when the retail release is out, I would get him on and talk about the game. It's what I'm hoping. And then I asked the same thing of Jeff, and I'm hoping maybe a little bit later, maybe together. I don't know how their schedules are going to work. I'll have to reach out to him at the time I schedule Matt. But Sound Booth Theater and Jeff are going to do both a soundboard, so sounds and words and different things you can use for your home game on your VTT, but also he's reading the entire core rulebook. And so
Oh, wow.
I think sometime around when he's working on that or gets released, that would be a good time to have him on to talk about that. And so I want to make sure it makes sense for their schedules and our schedules. And of course, I'll probably talk to Renegade as well, because, and this is news for Ron here, we are becoming an officially sponsored podcast by Renegade.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
That's great.
And I don't know what that's all going to entail. I don't know how we're actually going to label ourselves, but I just told Jordan, I'm going to say we're officially sponsored. We're an officially sponsored Dungeon Crawler Carl RPG podcast. And he didn't say no. So I always think that, okay, maybe we're on track with that. And so we might be getting some benefits for that. Who knows? I don't know with that, but that's going to happen because they're already supporting us, right? Already giving us information and
absolutely,
like that.
absolutely. But a bigger reach would be awesome to have more people hear all the good news we have to share about the game and designing it and the people behind it.
Yeah,
so that's great.
When we had talked to Scott, when we interviewed him, one of the things that he mentioned is they were going to have pages kind of explaining, where they talk about their different products and things. And our idea when we first started this podcast was we would kind of explain how things worked and how to do stuff in the game. And so there's this notion that maybe when they have some particular part, character creation, combat, mobs, that maybe they would link to a video of ours where we explain how to do that. And so we'll be working with Jordan to see exactly the kind of stuff they might need, and then maybe come up with a podcast. At that point, we may or may not have to have an additional disclaimer. I don't know. They are not running us. That we are not an official Renegade podcast, but we will be officially sponsored. So we'll still be independent, but of course, working with them as a partner.
That's great.
So
that's great. And thanks especially to all the people who have just followed us all the way along to get news and information. The fact that you know who we are and we love doing this for you, Renegade has taken notice, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, and over Gen Con, we hit 1,000 subscribers, which is a pretty big milestone.
Awesome
for podcasts.
Awesome
in 3 months, and so that means there's some interest, and I know there's 55,000 backers for this thing, so we only got another 54,000 to go, and
almost there. All
right, just a couple more photos. So here's the whole crew that did the setup. The staffers. Contract folks were in blue for the most part, and then the full-time Renegade staff is kind of in black for the most part. And again, it takes a village to set up for a convention, apparently. So it was great working with them, and I plan to be back next year, doing this.
Awesome.
A lot of work, but
awesome.
It was very good. And then, of course, there's me and Carl hanging out. I'm a little bit closer to the camera to give the illusion that I'm closer in size with Carl, but Carl's legs are like this big around. I mean, they're massive. Right? And then, of course, I wouldn't be doing any of this without my good buddy, Ron, who I was
Hooray!
able to see a little bit at the convention as well.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That was great to see so much of you. We saw each other a whole lot more than this one picture, but thank you for including this one picture. Yeah. That is great. It was so fun to see so much Carl everywhere.
Yeah. Gen Con, this was a long but very fulfilling Gen Con for me because of my close relationship with the game, obviously. But I got to meet, I got 2 hours total to walk the floor. So I did that. But I did get some time to interact with some other friends, meeting for lunch and different things like that outside of the schedule. Gen Con is awesome. And next year, because the game is going to be released and we're going to have another, they've already announced the Hunting Grounds book is going to be coming out next year as well. I think there's going to be a big Carl presence. I think Matt and or Jeff are going to be there as well. So it's going to be, again, another big deal. But of course, there's always other new games coming out. So, who knows how much Carl will take over Gen Con. Probably not as much as it was this year. So,
well, if we see more and more of this every year, then it's probably best for us to clarify this episode isn't the Gen Con debrief. It's the Gen Con 2026 debrief.
Yes.
To distinguish it from the other ones we'll be doing in the future.
Right. So I hope for all those folks that didn't get a chance to go to Gen Con and see all the Carl stuff, that we were able to capture some of that and bring it home for you. Obviously, I still have a lot more pictures of different things, but this trying to fit it in a relatively short timeline. I see we're approaching an hour, but give you a kind of a taste of what going to Gen Con's like. If you can do it, I recommend doing it, though.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm John.
And I'm Ron, and we are the Dungeon Anarchists.